Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's the Mouse Lady here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Xenics Titan GXR Wireless, just letting you know my overall experiences and thoughts with the mouse. So with that being said, let's talk mice. Hey, what's going on YouTube? It is the Mouse Lady here, and today I'm going to be going over the Xenics Titan GXR Wireless and my overall experiences with it. But before getting into my experiences, I'm just going to quickly tell you a little bit about it and how you can get it. So you're going to have to get this off of eBay if you live outside of Korea. Xenics is a Korean company, and I will link the store where I bought mine on eBay down below. Mine came out to about $101 US after tax. I got free shipping on mine, so you might as well. That will depend. It did take about a week and a half to get from Korea to my front door, so that was I didn't have to wait that long at all. So when you go to pick yours out, you can either pick out a white or a black variant. You're not going to be able to, have the same customization as the Pwnage, where you can pick out like different, like a blue shell with like the honeycomb body. It's just the solid body with the two shells. But anyway, so this one has the 3370 sensor, so you can adjust your liftoff distance, which I know was a huge issue on the Pwnage, so that's very nice. It's also more power efficient, so battery life is going to be better as well. I had no issues with this sensor whatsoever. No spinouts, no weird like tracking issues or smoothness or anything like that, or smoothing, sorry, not smoothness. All around the sensor performed very well. I had absolutely no issues with this. The sensor does come set to 500 Hz by default, so you are going to have to download the software if you want to change that to 1000 Hz. So that is something to keep in mind, and you can adjust your LOD there. It does come preset to 1mm. So, let's see. So this also uses Omron 20M switches. It does not use Omron 50Ms like the Pwnage does, so it's not going to be as susceptible to double clicking like the 50Ms would be, so that's a plus. Dimensions are going to be 120 millimeters long, about 63 millimeters at the grip, and then 39 millimeters at its tallest point. So that's pretty cool. It's not, wasn't too long for my really small hands. It is USB-C for you people who, are just obsessed about that. Let's see. So when you get your package here, it's going to come in a box that looks like this, and it's going to come with the honeycomb shell already put on. So you're going to get your solid shell in a separate bag, and you do get your USB, C cable with this dongle extender that you can plug on, and then your dongle is going to be stored inside of the mouse itself. And weight wise, it's going to depend on your configuration, of course. With none of the shells on, it was about 72 grams on my scale. With the honeycomb, it was about 77, and with the solid shell, it was about 78 to 79, depending on, my scale at that very moment. One really interesting thing that the box says that it uses, hopefully you guys can see that, it actually says that it uses tiger feet. I don't know if they mean tiger arc, but I'll go more in depth about the feet later, but these stock feet are actually really good. You don't get an extra set in the box, you don't get grips or anything like that, but these are really good stock feet. Real quick, features on the mouse itself. You get a DPI button. You can adjust your steps in the software, but it does come preset with quite a bit of steps if you don't want to download the software. And then on the bottom, your USB-C port is right here, and then on the bottom, you have your switch right here. The top is just to have the RGB off, which is of course going to save on battery life. I charged the mouse about a week ago, and I haven't had to charge it since with the RGB off. When I had the RGB on, which is the bottom part, my mouse died within 3 days, so keep that in mind. And then the middle step here is going to, of course, turn the mouse off. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into the small-handed edition portion of the review. If I missed any major features about the mouse that you want to know, just ask me down below, but I'm pretty sure I covered most of the bases here. Alright guys, let's get into the small-handed edition part of the review. Alright guys, getting into the small-handed edition portion of this review, I will be honest, I have never been a fan of the S2 or S2 inspired shapes. I don't know if it's due to my hand size or I just don't grip it in the proper places, but even though this is S2 inspired, I still have the same issues on this mouse that I had on the regular Zowie S2, where when I grip the mouse, it just felt very blocky and that I'm not gripping it where the correct comfort grooves are. And I know that's going to make a lot of people upset. I know the S2 is a really popular shape, and trust me when I say I've tried time and time again to figure out what I'm doing wrong when I grip this mouse, but I just need to accept that this is one of those shapes that just doesn't work for me. But I'm still going to show you guys how I grip the mouse, but keep in mind if you have hands as small as mine, which for reference is 15 by 9 centimeters, you might also run into the same issues that I do with this mouse, where I just can't seem to find, I guess the proper groove on it, or I don't know, just the proper way to grip it is what I'm trying to say. So when I do a regular grip on, like my regular grip is just a regular claw grip on it, which it's comfortable. This mouse, I will say, is more comfortable than the regular S2 for my grip. So when I grip it like this, and my ring and my pinky finger are slightly curled like so, and I guess I'm able to hit both of the side buttons just fine. I did have to move my grip up due to this gap in the side buttons here for the front side button, and I still do struggle to hit it. So you're definitely going to want to keep that in mind if you have really small hands like me and you like to utilize both side buttons. For me, I use my front side button for push to talk in every single video game that I play, so this was definitely an issue for me, as you know, I need to be able to hit that to communicate with my teammates. Back side button I could hit just fine, and this was the same no matter what shell configuration I was using, so obviously the shell differences isn't gonna, make the mouse feel any different, but just my regular grip, I could, hit the scroll wheel just fine and everything like that, and my fingers were on a good spot on mouse 1 and 2. It's mostly just these side buttons here that I had an issue with, and, some people might have that same issue, so that's definitely something that I wanted to mention. Relax claw, where I just fully extend my ring and my pinky finger. I could do that as well if I wanted, but the regular claw, I just felt like I had a lot more control of the mouse when I gripped it this way. I guess because of where the flare is on the side here, I was able to, have that more pencil-like feel with the mouse for, pinpoint accuracy. This mouse was definitely too big for me to comfortably fingertip grip. And I imagine with people who have small hands like I do, normally aren't going to fingertip grip anyway, and if they did, it would definitely be a hybrid of some sort and not just a full-on fingertip grip. But it is doable, I guess, but your fingers might be a little far back on mouse 1 and 2 if you do a fingertip grip, depending on how you do it. If you did it like this, you could probably pull it off, but... And of course I could palm it as well. I can pretty much palm any mouse in the collection, but that doesn't mean it's going to be optimal or comfortable. This mouse, though, I didn't really find anything, it wasn't super uncomfortable palming this mouse, even though it's best for claw. So, yes, I can grip the mouse, but just because it doesn't work for me doesn't mean it's not going to work for you. So don't let something that doesn't work well for me deter you from trying it if you like the S2 shape. So, yes, 15 by 9 centimeter hands, I could grip it, but keep in mind about the side button issue that I was talking about a second ago, where it might be a little too far forward, depending on how you grip your mouse. So let's go ahead and get into my overall experiences with the mouse before closing out this review. Alright guys, so getting into my positive and negative experiences with the mouse, I'll be honest, this mouse in particular was just pretty boring for me to use and review. There wasn't really anything that wowed me about the mouse, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's actually, a pretty decent mouse. There just wasn't anything that I found super special about it. But, like all the mice that I use and review and everything like that, there definitely are pros and cons to it on my particular copy. So I guess getting the negative things out of the way first, I guess the one major thing that I really disliked about the mouse were the gap in the side buttons, and since, my hands are so small at 15 by 9 centimeters, I, really had to fix and change my grip to be able to hit this front side button here, which just was a pretty big issue for me. I used the front side button for push to talk, and me changing up my grip that much definitely threw off my aim in-game. So that's definitely something I wanted to mention. I also wanted to show off the Xenics and the S2 side by side real quick. So you can see that it's definitely not a one-to-one clone. The S2 still has that, flatter top, whereas the Xenics is more rounded, and then the S2 has a bigger flare, I'd say. Sorry if this is really awkward to get to line up, but... So I just wanted to show that off real quick. So, another thing that I noticed over time is the solid shell, when I had this on, and I would just grip it like my regular claw grip like this, it shifts around for some reason, and it became really distracting in-game. This doesn't happen with the honeycomb, it only happens with the solid one, and it didn't even start happening until probably 5 or so days ago. So it was so distracting to me in-game that I just completely switched to the honeycomb shell, and this one doesn't do it, at least not yet, but I definitely wanted to mention that. I'm not sure what caused this to move. The clips and everything are all intact from what I can tell, but that is definitely a little strange. So yeah, the solid shell moves around on here. So another thing I wanted to mention is the clicks on this are definitely tensioned on the tighter side. So some people I know might not like that. They're not as loose as, standard Omron 20Ms on other mice. So, I mean, they definitely got a little more loose as time went on, but when I first got, unboxed the mouse and clicked mouse 1 and 2, I was definitely very shocked by how, tight they felt, tensioning-wise. So I'm going to give you a quick sound test while we're on the topic of clicks. So, mouse 1 and 2. Side buttons. Scroll wheel. Sorry about that, guys. I had a low battery alert. So I'm going to show you the pre and post travel real quick, because I don't know if my camera captured that. So pre, very minimal on mouse 1. Almost no post. Mouse 2 has a little bit of pre. The side buttons, though, actually really aren't that bad. Of course, they're going to both have a little bit of post, and definitely some pre as well. But overall, the buttons really weren't that bad. They kind of surprised me, just, on a, I guess, mouse like this. And then I guess another negative, like I mentioned already, this shape just doesn't work for me, and it never has. This is not a one-to-one clone of the Zowie S2, it's just an S2 inspired. I just really wanted to clear that up so people didn't ask me that in the comments. But I will say I do like this shape better than the Zowie S2, and I know that definitely might bother some people. I know the S2 warriors are strong with the S2, but I don't know. I don't know if my hands are too small for it, but the shape just personally does not work for me, but that doesn't mean it's not going to work for you. So keep all of that in mind. Build quality on the mouse actually really isn't that bad. The only thing is there is some rattle, but I'll do a really quick sound test for you guys on the build quality. So this is me squeezing it. So I can actuate the side buttons, and then there's a little bit of bottom flex. And then here's the rattle. I don't even know if you can hear that, but there is a little bit of rattle. Anyway, moving on. So a lot of people also asked me about how good the weight balancing feels in this mouse. So it's obviously not completely centered. It's a little more towards the back. And unless you're really sensitive to weight balancing, I personally couldn't really notice it all that much, but it is a little more noticeable with the solid shell on, so that is something to keep in mind if you're overly sensitive to weight balancing. So that is something I wanted to mention. So that's really all I can think of about stuff that just irritated me about the mouse. Besides the rattle and me being able to actuate the side buttons if I can squeeze unnaturally hard. The build quality is actually not that bad on this mouse, so that's definitely a positive. Regarding the scroll wheel, it's definitely a pretty good scroll wheel. It's not super tactile, but it's not super, what's the word I'm looking for? Almost like linear. I know that's a really weird way to explain it, like a linear keycap. There's slightly defined steps, and then as far as pushing it in, it's, you know, not super difficult to push in, so it was really good for me in-game. I was easily able to change weapons. Like I mentioned, very minimal pre and post travel on all the buttons. Battery life with the RGB off. I charged the mouse probably about 9 days ago, and my battery is still on 60%. So RGB off, which is the top step, is definitely the way to go with this. With the RGB on, which is the bottom step right here, my mouse died within 3 days, and I usually only game about 3 to 4 hours a night, depending on my work schedule. And another thing I wanted to mention are these stock feet. These are actually really good for stock feet, and it says on the box that they're actually tiger feet, so I'm assuming that they mean tiger arc, but they don't specify if they're 1s or 2s or ice feet, or if it's just, you know, their own rebranded tiger feet. I'm not really too sure, but you can see right here how thick they are. Hopefully you can see that anyway. It's kind of difficult to, you know, gauge that, but they're actually really, they glide really nice as well. I know glide tests are kind of weird, but this is on a Hayate Atsu X-Soft, and it took about a day for these to fully break in, and once they broke in, they're really smooth, they're pretty quiet, and, you know, they didn't feel scratchy at all. I was, you know, able to perform really well with them, and I think for stock feet, they're really good. They don't give you an extra set in the box, so that's definitely something I meant to mention in my negatives. You don't get grip tape or anything like that either. But again, for stock feet, these are really good. They're really thick, so they're not going to wear down, you know, super quick. It's also really cool that, you know, you have the adjustable lift-off distance in the software, with this being a 3370. So you can adjust it, I think, either 1 or 2 millimeters. I think 3. I could be wrong on 3, but definitely 1 or 2. So the adjustable LOD is definitely a positive. Some people I know care about this quite a bit. It is USB-C. Yay. I mean, seriously, who fucking cares? It's a wireless mouse, but for those who care, it is USB-C. And I guess another positive is if you do own a Pwnage mouse, the shells are interchangeable. So if you have a black Pwnage mouse and you wanted to do a black and white look with this mouse, they do fit. So that is something really, really cool if you, for whatever reason, own both mice. And then the coating on this mouse is actually really good too. I have really sweaty hands, and I never once had to like readjust my grip due to the sweat or my, you know, fingers and hands being sweaty. It worked out really well for me, and I was really, really shocked at how good the coating was on a mouse like this. It's not rubberized. I don't really know how to explain it, but take my word for it. The coating feels really nice, and if you have really sweaty hands, this should work out well for you, because I have extremely sweaty hands. But guys, that's really all I can think of with this mouse. Again, like I said, the mouse was pretty boring for me to review. So if I missed anything, just ask me down in the comments and I will get back to you on that. I hope you enjoyed the review. This is my first time doing my new reviews with this format, so just give me some more time and they'll get better as time goes on. So if anybody watched the video all the way through, thank you so much. And with all that being said, guys, I will see you in the next one. Peace.